All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. We have some natural lighting going on here, which is very nice for once. Hope you guys are doing well today. Welcome back. Thank you for waiting for the intro to finish up. Close the curtain. I don't know. It's kind of nice. Epic lighting. Yeah, bro. We got that glorious lighting. I do miss some natural lighting. I mean, I like the way it looks at times when we have it all ambient and whatnot. But oh boss. Oh Jesus. Boss, bro, you got it. Like, I've only been talking for literally 15 seconds and you're already starting this cat. So, did anybody go see the Until Dawn movie? V2, you're saying you're going to see it? Gaming Survivor, you said you had a friend who saw it. Me and Mrs. MEG actually went to go see the Until Dawn movie. I want to talk about it a little bit. Well, we got a bunch of stuff we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about a new report that reveals Xbox games are selling best on PS5, which may not be the most shocking thing, but still a report that I believe is going to be worth going over. We're going to be talking about the Until Dawn movie. I'm going to give my review of that, give my thoughts on it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it meh? Is it the worst video game movie ever made? We'll talk about it. I'm going to talk a little bit about Days Gone, Ghost of Yotei, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Goddamn, you guys seen what's going on with this game? I knew it. I knew when I was reviewing it. I'm like 25 hours into the game. I'm like, this is going to be game of the year. People don't know. They just don't know. They're about to know. I remember sitting there saying multiple times, like, is this like the best RPG ever? Surely not. Surely not. But I don't know. It's real good. Boss, chill out. Thank you. How's my weekend been? It's been okay so far. I went to go watch Warfare, did a double bill, The Accountant 2. Nice. Yeah, I went to the movies with Mrs. MBG, and it's been a while since we went to the movies together. I think the last movie we went to go see together was Deadpool and Wolverine. It was a good time. Man, movies are expensive, though. I mean, geez. It's an event, that's for sure. I heard that movie Sinners is really good, yeah. How much was it? I mean, dude, like probably close to $100 for everything. I'm not kidding. Like getting the tickets, getting popcorn. Bro, no. Get down. Get down. You can't do that. Get down. Trying to bite my damn PlayStation. It was a lot of money, dude. I mean, the tickets, the popcorn, the snacks. They sell hot dogs now, so I was like, okay, we'll get some hot dogs. And it added up. Candy. Gotta say though, I was at the movie theater and they had Lifesaver gummies. And I'm like, I love these things. So I bought it. Something was wrong with them. I checked the expiration date on them. It said they didn't expire till the end of the year, but they did not taste right. There was something very wrong with those Lifesaver gummies. And I'm like, okay, I paid, I think, like $7 for this. This is some bullshit. Mrs. MG was like, maybe you should go tell him. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to miss the movie, like, it's crazy. Schmidt says, bro thought we wouldn't notice that thumbnail. What are you talking about, Schmidt? What did you notice? What'd you notice? So yeah, let's talk about the Until Dawn movie first and foremost. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Well, I'm not really gonna spoil anything, but there is one thing I'm gonna mention that I think they purposely. I could be wrong, but I think they purposely tried to like not say this, maybe because it would mess up the marketing of it. But Yeah, Until Dawn movie, I thought it was really good. I did. I had a good idea going into it that it was going to be very different from the game because I saw the trailer. But but I went in with an open mind and I really enjoyed it. I was like, you know what? That was actually a really good movie. Not the best, but you know, for a horror movie, I think it was pretty fun. It was a good time. For it being a horror movie based on a game, it has some specific nods to Until Dawn that I was a little bit surprised to see. Um, the really interesting thing about the Until Dawn movie that I want to talk about, and Mrs. MBG really liked it as well, by the way. She thoroughly enjoyed it. Quite a few jump scares, for sure. But the one thing I want to talk about when it comes to this this movie, so they positioned it like this is a different take on Until Dawn, right? I'm pretty sure this is a prequel. Pretty sure this is a prequel to Until Dawn, like the game we play. It's hard not to explain why without going into spoilers, but there are a few things that happen in the movie that if you're paying close enough attention to, I'm like, wait, hold on. Now, maybe I'm wrong and I'm getting some wires crossed, but I'm pretty sure this was a prequel. Like I'm fairly sure it was a prequel. Will there be another movie? It does seem like, well, see, that's where things get kind of weird, where it's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't. They seem to kind of hint that there might be, but I don't know, man. There were a couple of direct nods to the game in ways that I was not expecting, and it's really hard not to spoil it directly. But what I will say is that some of the direct nods that they give to the game seem to indicate that what we are watching is what happens prior to Until Dawn, the game. But there's a really big implication. There's a huge implication that, you know, I don't, again, I don't want to like directly spoil anything in case anybody's planning on watching this movie, but I'm just simply looking at it. My takeaway from the movie was that the reason why it was so dramatically different is because they're setting up a universe here with Until Dawn. They're clearly going to make this a franchise, and they want the first game to kind of serve as a just a part of that universe. And there's one returning character, which they do show him in the trailer, Dr. Hill. Um, Maybe this is a minor spoiler, but if anything, it might encourage people to go check the movie out if you like the game, because they didn't show this in the trailers. But in the trailers for Until Dawn movie, they make it seem like the character Dr. Hill, you know, the therapist guy, that's who he played in well, that's a character he played in Until Dawn. They make it seem like he just has a small cameo in this movie. And so he shows up at the beginning of the movie. They show it in the trailers, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But I was like, "Man, it would be." I really hope he has like a bigger role, but it didn't seem like he did. And it is maybe a small spoiler, but no, he does have a major role in this movie, and his role in this movie, again, if you watch it all the way through, which I would assume you would if you're going to watch the movie, it makes you kind of realize like, oh, okay, they're definitely doing something like bigger picture zoom out here. I don't know if people are going to like it. Like I'm pretty sure I'm picking up what Sony's putting down here with Until Dawn and what they're trying to do with this universe. And I don't know if people are going to respond to it very well, but they might. I like it. I think it's really cool. And I think it's more than obvious that we're getting a sequel to the game. Your friend said the same about the jump scares. Yeah, there were quite a few. They have like these moments of just pure silence, and you just feel the tension building up, and you're like, okay, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? And it was like, even if you don't care about Until Dawn, even if you don't care that this game is based on Until Dawn, the movie's fun. I thought it was. And there were some surprise moments, dude, where like just a few shocking moments in like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming. Not in terms of like plot, but just in terms of like some of the ways. So if you guys know the plot of, they do tell you the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is basically like these teenagers are uh, going to they're following a trail left by the main character's sister because she went missing, and they stumble upon this house, and they don't get locked in the house, but they get kind of locked in an area around it where they sign in and they keep dying. Like there's all these different things that keep killing them, like a almost like a like like sometimes it's like a slasher movie. Like there's like a evil psychotic killer like chasing them down and killing them. There's like monsters. There's they do have Wendigos. They have all this different stuff, and some of it's cliche, but it's cliche in the sense that it's like it's it's not even that it's funny, but it's just like a house of horrors basically, and they keep dying and then coming back and then dying and coming back, and essentially the whole plot is like they have a certain amount of times that they can come back, and if they don't survive the night, they have to survive until dawn. If they don't do that, they're basically going to be stuck there forever, and so it gives, what I like about it is it kind of, you could tell it gave the director freedom to just do some of the craziest stuff and whatever they want, which was very cool. And I don't want to say any more than that because it'll give too many spoilers, but it was good. Like overall, I'm just saying I thought it was a good movie, and I ended up enjoying it more than I expected. No, I'm not saying anymore. Maybe I am being a bit too spoilerish. It's hard. It's hard not to, because I'm just surprised nobody else saw it. Like if you like the Until Dawn game, I think you'll appreciate this movie. It is very different, but I think they did a good job. And yeah, I'm curious to see if it does well. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna like be a major flop or whatever. If it is, I don't know. Sony might be upset about that. I don't know, because it seems clear to me that Sony's trying real hard to do more with Until Dawn and make it like a like a bigger franchise, and kind of make it their horror franchise, which would be cool. That'd be cool. I hope that they can succeed. So I went to go see it. It's a good movie. Not the best movie. It's not the best horror movie I've ever seen, but I enjoyed it. It was a good time. And I found myself talking with Mrs. MBG after the screening of like, she was pointing things out too, and we were like trying to figure out like where exactly this falls in the Until Dawn. What would I rate it out of 10? I'd give it like a solid 7.5 out of 10. Maybe an 8, just because I appreciated all the callbacks to the game and some of the like little Easter eggs and stuff they put in there. And I really, really liked Until Dawn. So I feel like that enhanced it for me. But yeah, it was good. So I would recommend it. If you like Until Dawn, but go in knowing that it's not trying to replicate the game itself, I would recommend it, and I think you'll enjoy it. I wonder if Until Dawn 2 could be a roguelike game based around the concept of the movie. That's another thing I was kind of wondering, if like there's any overlap, where apparently Fire Sprite, from what I understand, Fire Sprite is the one working on Until Dawn 2, which, who knows how that's going to go. What they were doing in the movie, is there any potential hints or overlap that like this might be the direction they're going in with the game, the sequel? So, all right. They do reference one character from the game in this movie. One character. You don't see him, like they don't bring him like on screen or anything, but they reference him in a subtle way. Like the name isn't even dropped, but it's like a major like Easter egg in the movie. Like, oh my God, there's the character. And I think that was done very much intentionally to try to, like, for people who like the game, where it's like, oh, okay, so like so what does this mean, right? What does this mean if you play the game and you see the movie and you pick up on that little Easter egg? What does this mean? I think it means something significant. That's my guess, anyway. Anyway, yeah, Until Dawn movie, good movie. How scary is it? I mean, the it depends on like what you look for in horror movies. In the case of the Until Dawn movie, the scares come mostly from jump scares. I won't lie. And I know that that's considered cheap, but I feel like this movie actually has to do it that way because like they very quickly make it known that like you can die. Like in the movie, the characters die multiple times and they come back. And so the things that are after them or killing them become a lot less scary. So they have to kind of rely on jump scares. But the whole idea is the fear is more subtle in the sense of like, okay, how many times can they die, and what happens if they reach their limit? Like you find out there's like a limit in how many times they could die. What happens then? And then that's kind of what builds the tension and like, oh, okay, all right, like who's gonna make it, who's not. It's kind of cool. It's cool the way they did it. But there was this one I don't want to, well, not only could I not describe it because I'd probably get demonetized because of how brutal it is, but one thing I will say is this movie's much more brutal than I expected in terms of like just the gore factor. There's one way in which these characters die in the movie where it gets like kind of silly, but it's just so like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, that was pretty funny. Fred Vance, longtime member, 59 months. He says, one more month for the 5-year badge. I cannot wait. Be playing Claire Obscura Expedition 33 while listening to the show. Yeah, man, I think I saw like 2 others who got their 5-year badge, which was awesome. And you're next, Fred. You're next. Thank you, though, man. You know I appreciate that long time support. Means a lot. Dead by Daylight movie. In a way, this movie kind of was like Dead by Daylight, somewhat. You want to talk about games, not movies? Well, hey, I'm talking about a movie based on a game. But like I said, just to wrap it up, and we'll move on and talk about games. Yeah, man. If you like the Until Dawn game, I think you can appreciate this movie. I can't guarantee that for every Until Dawn fan, but I enjoyed it. It was a good time. So let's go over this report where apparently Xbox games are selling best on PlayStation 5. Let's see. And Fred Vance comes in and drops 5 membership gifts for you guys. Fred, you're going to be my ADHD today. Thank you so much for that, Fred. You know I appreciate it, man. Let's get some W's in the chat, and I'll give, let's see. Fred, for some reason, I'm just feeling the screaming gopher, you know? It just, that was me. That was me while I was watching Until Dawn. Thank you for that, buddy. I'll add that to the counter. Yeah, so that works for you? Good. We have to go over this report that seems to indicate that Indiana Jones is currently selling better on PS5 than it did on both Xbox and PC, which maybe is a little, just a little bit surprising. Not super surprising though. There's nothing like crazy about it. But this report, let's see, where's it at here? Comes from Reese Elliott of Alinea, I think that's how you said it, Alinea Analytics. They say Indiana Jones is selling copies faster on PS5 than it did on Steam and Xbox. a positive sign for Xbox's third-party future. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the Machine Games developed Xbox first-party title, officially launched on PlayStation consoles last week. It sold over 100,000 copies so far and is growing still. The game wowed critics back in December with its blend of meaningful exploration, light immersive sim elements, and great execution of an established IP, perhaps the best release in said IP since the 80s. Xbox has so far staggered its first-party releases on PlayStation, but the gap is closing. Indiana Jones came to PlayStation just 4 months after Xbox and PC. As we covered previously, Xbox first-party games have had mixed results launching on PlayStation so far. Some sold slowly, while others sold well. Indiana Jones so far seems to be in the latter camp. So they say their sold estimates, copy sold estimates, the most accurate on the market. That's what they're claiming. Alinea Analytics, they're saying their estimates are the most accurate on the market. And their estimates show that Indiana Jones is selling more copies on PS5 than it has on Steam and even Xbox. While our estimates show that just under 5 million Xbox players have checked out Indiana Jones, which is not very good, the overwhelming majority of these came in via Game Pass. So they say Indiana Jones is selling faster on PlayStation than it is on Steam so far. While it launched on December 8th on Steam and April 17th on PlayStation, we've aligned the data. And so when you look at this chart, PS5 is tracking well above Steam. They don't have a line for Xbox, though, and I'm assuming that's due to Game Pass. With a much bigger install base, it's obviously to be expected. It would only be interesting if they were selling worse. Total non-story. I mean, it's not a big story, but it's something that I think we can take away from this, outside of the obvious fact that, well, PlayStation players are buying this game, is that this is likely going to be the final domino. Well, actually, I don't know. I think Forza is probably going to be the one, but Indiana Jones and Forza combined are essentially the final domino to fall, where it's like, and there it is, like this is why Microsoft is going third party, because I want to highlight something here that I think is worth talking about. They say here that our estimates show that just under 5 million Xbox players checked out Indiana Jones, and most of those came from Game Pass. This is what's crazy to me, is I get people, they come to me and they're like, bro, what's up with Sony's exclusives only selling like 10 million units? Right? And I'm like, I try to explain to people, like, that's not bad. Like, that's good. Like, could it be better? Of course. Do they want it to be better? Of course. But that's not bad. That's far from bad. That's very good. What people really need to be focused on is the fact that, according to this analytics firm, about 5 million people in total on the entirety of the Xbox platform, including the Xbox consoles, Game Pass, and Game Pass on PC, checked out this game. And these are people that are ostensibly getting it for free, right? That's how people talk about it. Like, we're getting it for free through Game Pass. Dark Horse, the analytics firm, is the source. So you don't have to I do want to put the caveat here. You don't have to trust this firm. They're a professional analytics company called Alinea Analytics, and they claim they have the most accurate data on the market. So you don't have to believe it. I'm not telling you to, take it as cold, hard fact. But, I don't think that they would put this out here if they didn't have some level of accuracy. But to me, that is the greater concern here, where it's like, here, I'll link the post. Hold on. Not really a concern. I mean, as a PlayStation player, it doesn't really worry me, but it's really fascinating to me. It is. It's really fascinating that you would think that, Game Pass being at like 35 or 40 million or something, whatever, somebody said recently it's at 50 million. I don't know if I believe that, but you would think that more people would be checking it out. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how many Game Pass subs there are at this point. I mean, somebody said that Ecstasis, who's a pretty well-known insider, said 50 million. I don't know. 50 million sounds like a lot. I don't imagine it being 50 million. 5 million isn't a good number. I think 5 million sold is a good number. I think 5 million through a sub service where it's all you got to do is download the game and play it if you're subscribed. Considering this was supposed to be like a bigger title, I don't know, man. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily. I'm just saying how I guess what I'm trying to say is it seems like the interest levels at the very least for this game are very low on the Xbox side. But then again, they say that it sold like 100,000 copies on PlayStation. I mean, at what point do we ask the question, like, is Indiana Jones just simply not doing well? Right? Chris, you're saying 5 million including Game Pass, that's not good. Well, here's the thing. We're only focused on Indiana Jones because that's what the report is covering. I want to know what Forza is going to do. To me, Forza is the big one. That's the one that I think, like, I don't say is make or break because I think Microsoft already made their decision, but I'm just so curious. Like, is that going to be a multi-million seller on PlayStation? But yeah, this analytics firm is claiming that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle sold about 100,000 copies. You think it'd be 10 million on PlayStation by the end of the month? That would be nuts. I know, yeah, Forza I know did big numbers on Microsoft through Game Pass and I believe sales as well. So that's why I'm so curious how big that one's going to be. You think it's going to be huge? Almost always in the top games on PlayStation Store every week. The real story is going to be the big day and date games. I agree. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the big one. I mean, are we going to see like Gears of War E-Day selling just as well as like Doom. Guys, I was like really confused yesterday for like a moment. I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a new Doom trailer pop up on the PlayStation YouTube page. And I was like, oh, okay, this is like a 5-minute trailer. Let's check it out. And it was opened up by, I think, the director of Doom, specifically addressing the PlayStation crowd. Like saying, hello, everybody at Sony Land. Hold on, boss. Talking about the PS5 Pro and you know, just basically making it known that we made this video just for PlayStation and PlayStation players. And I was like, all right, well, they probably did the same thing for Xbox. And you know, and they probably uploaded it on their regular YouTube channel. And I went to go check. And no, like this video was exclusively made for PlayStation. And I'm like, this is kind of nuts, dude. Like, I mean, Microsoft is all in, where they're just like, we want to appeal. Like, I mean, truly appeal to the PlayStation audience so we can sell big numbers. And I'm like, this, who else are they going to address? No, I mean, you would have thought that this was just a general video that they would have made for both Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Like, just, you know what I mean? But no, they like specifically went out of their way to record this. They're like starting to specifically target PlayStation in their marketing. I'm like, that's just unexpected. I think what's so interesting to me about it is that like a couple years ago when they were purchasing Bethesda, like the conversations were just if these games were even ever going to come to PlayStation, and now we're seeing them kind of catering to PlayStation, and I'm like, this is not what I expected. Not complaining, but just a very, very interesting turn of events. They do their own thing for marketing. I mean, that makes sense. It makes sense. You wonder if Bungie will do that for Xbox? They should. That's a good idea. They should. Microsoft would rather us buy games on PlayStation than buy an Xbox and use Game Pass. I mean, I don't know that it is that intense, but I mean, I don't know. Is there truth to that? I don't know. Because they don't make much money on the hardware. They probably don't make any money on the hardware sale. How much money do they make through a Game Pass sub? I mean, nobody knows that. The answer to that question. All we really do know is that they can make money off of a full $70 purchase. We do know that. You think Marathon would be saved via Game Pass? Dude, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Marathon's going to come out. It's going to kind of flop. Sony's going to strike a deal with Microsoft to put it on Game Pass. And Sony's going to put it on PS Plus. I doubt it. I don't know, man. It seems like Marathon's going to do okay from what I can tell. But, I mean, you know, the timing of this, I guess, makes sense. Indiana Jones just released on a PlayStation. Now Forza is about to release on PlayStation. I assume we're going to start getting more data and more numbers. And who knows, maybe Microsoft will start giving their own numbers for investors and whatnot. I'm sure they're going to do that to a degree. And I think that this, again, is just kind of like we're witnessing the last domino fall where after Forza launches, I think that's it. I think it's just, yeah, Microsoft is officially just a third-party publisher. I mean, through and through. SDO, member for 13 months, says, well-known Xbox guys, Destin, for example, said games on PS5. Games are on PS5 because Xbox hardware sales are low compared to forecasts. PS5 is a monster platform. Yeah, I mean, there's this idea, this notion, I should say. There's this notion that Sony can kind of relax a little bit with how they want to market their games and they don't feel like much pressure. And I'm like, man, when you kind of see reports like this come out and you see Microsoft, well, at the very least, you see Bethesda with id Software doing like a PS5 exclusive trailer for Doom. I mean, yeah, the Xbox platform has collapsed, man. The Xbox platform at this point is simply just, it's just Game Pass. I'm not saying there aren't some people still left playing on Xbox, and you know, there obviously are customers who have digital games, and Microsoft is going to still cater to them to make sure that they're able to access their games and still use the platform as much as they want. But generally speaking, when it comes to the most important aspect of a platform, which is money, how much money can it make? How much money is it making? How profitable is it? The Xbox platform has collapsed. And that's why I feel like the big question is like, what is Game Pass doing? Is Game Pass truly making Microsoft money? I mean, is it truly profitable, or is it one of these things where they're still kind of, they're not quite there, and the needle still hasn't moved enough yet? That's what I would like to know. But one thing that does seem clear is that, yeah, the PlayStation platform is a monster, and it's. I think what's even more interesting outside of the Game Pass data is like it's selling better on PS5 than it was on Steam. And Steam's a monster platform. So I'm sure Microsoft, if this data is accurate, is looking at this and being like, we made the right choice. We definitely made the right choice. So yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, the past 2 weeks, I'm sitting here playing Indiana Jones PS5 Pro Enhanced, Forza Horizon 5 PS5 Pro Enhanced, and it just feels like, you know, not too, like about a year and a couple months ago, the internet was panicked, you know, panicking. Xbox, really hardcore Xbox players were panicking, and there were a lot of people who assumed that like this isn't how it was going to go down, but it's like, no, here we are, man. It's been a slow rollout, I would say, for the past like 12 to 16 months, but I think this is the final wave of just, or again, like the final domino falling. So I think it was the right choice selling it at $70. Wrong way to look at it. Microsoft is winning people over via being on PlayStation and Nintendo Marketplace. Well, see, here's where things I think also continue to be interesting is like, does Sony, how comfortable is Sony really with this? Because yeah, like at the rate Microsoft is going, they're like, people are going to be talking more about Xbox games on PlayStation than they will be talking about PlayStation games through sheer volume. I wonder how Sony feels about that. I mean, if they're making money, I mean, you would assume they're like, well, we don't care. STO, you're saying the remaining 20 million gamers still on Xbox who didn't jump to PlayStation or PC are only on Xbox to keep a legacy Xbox game library they don't want to lose. That's what I'm beginning to think too. Yeah. I mean, SDO, I do feel like Microsoft over time will start to lose some of those players as well. Or at the very least, those players will not be as engaged. Like once some of their games in that library start to, become less relevant, I think they'll start to move. Discussions like this reveal how much misinformation and misunderstanding there is in the discourse around the games industry. What do you mean by that? What percentage of the sales does Microsoft get off the PS? They get, so for every copy of an Xbox game sold on PlayStation, Microsoft gets 70%. Sony gets 30. So you bet way less than PlayStation first party. Microsoft needed to do better with the Xbox One generation when people were building their digital libraries. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I just wonder at the end of the day, you know, if Sony really is in this position of they're just like, well, we did win. Like we actually did win, and we don't really need to do much at all now. Because that's the thing, man. Microsoft having a barrage of games. Like let's zoom out for a moment, okay? Microsoft drops Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Oblivion remastered, Shadow Drop, Forza Horizon 5 for the first time on PlayStation, and Doom in like 2 weeks from now. That's all within within 1 month. That's within like 30 days. Sony Days Gone remastered, which I'm not trying to hate. I'm playing Days Gone remastered and I'm loving it, dude. If anything, I'm just feeling like, damn, how did we not get a sequel to this game? But when you look at and Age of Empires as well. I forgot that one. Now, granted, not all of these games are brand. It's not like Forza Horizon 5 is a brand new, like newly released game. It's not Forza 6. But I just think that it's becoming clear that Microsoft as a publisher has so much, like, at any in any given month just releasing on PlayStation. Sony can in no way, shape, or form keep up. And I do just wonder, like, is the mentality from Sony behind the scenes truly like it's like that's a good thing? Like that's fine. And I have to assume that from a business perspective, it probably is, because they're just raking in money doing nothing. Microsoft is basically telling them, like, you sit back, do nothing. We'll just, we'll make our money. We'll get ours. You'll get yours. And it's kind of crazy. It's actually kind of crazy. Like, I would have never thought in a million years. Like, it's just seeing a report like this, it kind of rattles me a little bit. Like, holy shit, dude. What? How did we get here? Like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm still. It's not that it's like shocking in the sense that, well, yeah, dude, it's been this way for a little bit, but it's just, I don't know. I would not have predicted or been able to foresee that when this generation started, the way it was going to basically end is like Microsoft's going to be the biggest publisher on PlayStation, and Sony's going to make so much money off of their games by doing nothing. Like, that's a crazy prospect. SDO, you're saying my position is this: people say Xbox is so great, yet ABK and Bethesda work on 8-year roadmaps. So what have Xbox done since the buyout themselves? Well, see, that's where I think the conversation gets muddied, right? Because my opinion is this: if Xbox didn't buy Bethesda and ABK, they would be in an even worse position than they were prior to even the lineup they had, I would say, for like the Xbox One, right? They didn't have enough studios. Their studios did not have the type of talent, seemingly, that their competitors had. So it's hard to have those conversations, though, because it's like, well, I mean, Microsoft owns them now, right? So it's like, when we look at Doom, it depends on who you ask, but some people will say Doom is not a Microsoft game. Microsoft owns the property now. They own the studio that makes it, but it's not a Microsoft game. But somebody else will say, no, that is a Microsoft game. They own them. It's kind of like, you know what? It's like, I saw people mentioning that the Marathon Alpha or whatever, it has a PlayStation Studios logo. I know that's the point of ownership, but it's like, PlayStation didn't fucking make Marathon. PlayStation has literally nothing to do with Marathon, other than, I guess, making sure Bungie can still release it. But, like, this is just where it's like, it's hard to work in technicality all the time because it makes things too simple. Or it's not that there's a problem with the simplicity of it. It's just, if you're trying to have a deeper, more meaningful conversation, when you oversimplify, it can strip it can strip any conversation of that, right? And I feel like that's where I look at Marathon and I'm like, that's a Bungie game. And it's like if I see a PlayStation player be like, no, that's a PlayStation Studios title, it's like, okay, bro, like, okay. I mean, technically yes, but it's like, do we really feel that? I mean, like, do we really feel like Bungie is a PlayStation studio in the same way we feel like Housemarque is? I think the answer is just obviously no, because the difference is Housemarque worked with Sony for like over a decade straight, making games with Sony before they were actually bought by Sony. So the ownership, it feels like nothing really changed. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like, yeah, there should have been a PlayStation Studios logo there the whole time. To whereas with something like Bungie, it's like, that just seems like Sony made a panic purchase because they were scared. And it seems abundantly clear that this studio does not have a strong history or solid track record with PlayStation. So when you see that PlayStation logo pop up, it does feel kind of like, oh well, okay, yeah, they paid to be able to put that logo there, so they should. But I just don't think people are walking around feeling like Marathon is like a PlayStation developed video game. In the same way that when people see something like, at this point in time, if you see a Venom game announced or like Wolverine, like people kind of feel like, yeah, it's Insomniac. That's a PlayStation studio at this point. It really has always kind of felt like that. Hold on one sec. But anyway, I mean, I know we're getting into the semantics of it, and I'm not trying to say Microsoft doesn't own Doom or that Doom isn't a Microsoft game. Like, yes, technically at this point, Doom is a Microsoft game. I'm just saying it feels like the way Microsoft is treating Bethesda right now, or even all of their studios for that matter, but specifically focused on Bethesda with Indiana Jones, with Doom. It really feels like they just turn to them and they're like, we just want you to pretend we're not even involved. You know what I mean? Like, just operate the exact same way you would prior to us being involved. That's kind of what it feels like. And it's interesting because it does feel like this might be the best alternative for Microsoft or for the Xbox brand that we could have maybe hoped for if the console truly for Xbox was not ever going to be able to succeed again. I got too many things open here. No, I know that they've been doing this, but not to this level. Not to this level. All the games coming out now are all Xbox made from them. That's what all the discussion revol. Wait, okay, are you saying all the discussion about Marathon revolves around PlayStation owning them or it being like a PlayStation game? Isn't 343 just overseeing future Halo titles, not actually making them, or am I just mistaken? They were actually completely rebranded. So it seems like that studio was gutted, rebranded. They're called Halo Studios now, and I think that they were just starting from the ground up. For all intents and purposes, it seems like 343 was shut down and a new studio was built. That's kind of my read on it. Um, you know, after Halo Infinite, pretty much everybody, not every single developer that worked at the studio was laid off, but all the leadership was gone, and 343 just rebranded. Yeah, I mean they rebranded and they got, you would assume, like a whole new leadership team and new devs in, new talent. Marathon is Bungie. If this game does well, they can stop the absorption. Bro, I'm going to be honest. I don't think Sony wants to absorb Bungie. Because how does that benefit Sony? Like, if that happens, right? Like, Marathon fails and Sony has no choice but to absorb Bungie. It highlights that Sony made quite possibly like the worst acquisition ever. Like the whole idea was Bungie's got to be our king, right? And then it's like, well, they did so bad that we actually had to like pretty much dismantle the studio and bring them in to, did I see the Marathon viewership on Twitch? I did not. No. Do I consider Marathon a first party PlayStation game? I mean, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because it's like, it is a first party PlayStation game because Sony owns them. But it's just like, I don't know. It's one of these things where it's like, But it reminds me. It reminds me of the conversations we would have about Final Fantasy, but this is a layer deeper than that. Where with Final Fantasy, it was like, is that like a PlayStation, like a true PlayStation exclusive? It's like, no, PlayStation didn't develop that game, but people would talk about it like PlayStation did, you know. And I get that. I guess you could say that's what Sony kind of paid for with the branding. But Marathon is a first party game. It is because Sony now owns it, and yeah, Bungie is an owned studio by Sony. It just, I don't know, man. It's just weird because it's like when I look at it, I'm like, but Sony, like, so you know for a fact, not a single PlayStation developer or executive had anything to do with Marathon whatsoever. That's 100% Bungie, for better or for worse. If Marathon became the next big live service game and it blew up, it became bigger than Fortnite. Like, yeah, that's still Bungie. Like, Bungie did that. Sony just got lucky and bought them and happened to buy the next big thing. You know, it's hard for me not to view it that way, is what I'm trying to say. Now, when it comes to like the next game after Marathon, where it seems like Sony had much more influence on it, just because, you know, they're now working to get, like, Marathon was a game that was in development well before Sony even, you know, probably thought about purchasing them. Maybe that changes it. 5K. Oh, that's it for Twitch. Oof. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what the future of Bungie looks like. I don't know what the future of Bungie looks like, and I just hope it's not. I don't know. I don't even know that I have a hope. I feel like I'm indifferent. Like, I'll be honest, like, I feel like if Bungie just went away tomorrow, I'd be like, okay. If Bungie released the next big game that took over, I think I'd be like, okay. I'm just like kind of indifferent to Bungie, to be honest, at this point. I've been indifferent to Bungie for a long time. It's nothing personal against them. You know, I don't have a problem with Destiny or anything. I don't even have a problem with Marathon. I don't know. Hanzo says bring back single player games with multiplayer attached. I would like to see that return. But the whole point of this conversation, the whole point of this discussion is that it's not even, you know, we used to use the term the tides have changed. The tide has changed. And it's like the tide didn't change, just the entire. We're just on a different planet now, bro. We're on a different planet entirely. Was Concord a first party? Yeah. I mean, yeah. I am a believer in that at the end of the day, whoever chooses to take ownership, the buck does stop with them. You know? I understand that. It's like when Concord fails, like, even though the devs made some huge mistakes, we have to, like, the buck stops with Sony. Like, you know. Well, hold on. You're saying Marathon had over 175,000 concurrent viewers this weekend on Twitch? Well, B Flesher, you said it was like 5,000. Getting some mixed info here. But the buck does stop with whoever owns the product. I do agree with that, because that's part of what you're paying for, right? So, like, no matter what, even though ultimately, to me, Marathon is not a PlayStation game. Sony does own it. They paid for that. And part of what they're paying for is the responsibility of what may or may not happen next. So if the game flops and it's just a total train wreck, that ultimately does fall on Sony. If it's the best game ever, like I said, and it's huge, then that ultimately falls on Sony. I mean, you look at a game like Helldivers 2, and it's like I'm quick to give Sony credit for that. Right? They don't even own Arrowhead, but I'm quick to give Sony credit for that because they helped see it through and they funded it and whatnot. But if Helldivers was a dumpster fire game, then I would have to keep that energy and be like, well, it's also that's also on Sony, right? It was 175K when people started streaming it on alpha at launch day, but it's been down to 5 to 6K the last 3 days. Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. Yeah, it's a pretty big drop off. Yeah. So PlayStation gamers can't blame Xbox if they mess up Call of Duty. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like, I feel like what's complicated about these giant mergers and these giant acquisitions is like the reality, as you can tell, is that Microsoft doesn't have much control over Call of Duty right now. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, they own it, but you could tell they're kind of like hands off, right? Like you just make a good game, like keep doing good, guys. We do own this, but we don't want to like screw it up. So you just keep doing good. I don't know. It depends on how much of a hands-on versus a hands-off approach they want to have. But the truth is, at the end of the day, no matter how we view this, they ultimately, if you own the product, if you own the IP, if you own the studio, no matter how hands-on or hands-off you want to be, you are paying for that responsibility. That's part of what you're paying for. So, if Doom ends up being an amazing game, even though Microsoft maybe had a completely hands-off approach and nothing to do with the development of it, they still get part of the credit. And if it ends up being a bad game and Doom flops or whatever, Microsoft's going to get some of that backlash too. That's just, I understand this. It's just sometimes when I view these things, when I'm viewing these individual studios, it is hard to sometimes take into account that consolidation has occurred, man. Like, yes, Bungie is owned by Sony. Sony's responsible for the studio now. So whatever they do, good or bad, goes to Sony. Just like sometimes, looking at Doom, I'm like, whatever happens with that game, it's going to go to Microsoft. And I guess that's the nature of consolidation, ultimately. Can't really do much about it. You'd imagine that some people from Arcane Austin went to id Software since it is in Austin as well. Probably, yeah. If Doom flops, the narrative would 100% be that it's Microsoft's fault. Yeah, no, I can agree with that for sure. And that's why I guess we just have to, we have to, I guess, just keep it at that base level of whoever owns it, that's where the credit is going to go, or the discredit, or not discredit, but, the blame or the credit, right? That's where it's going to be distributed. If Marathon flops, will you say it's PlayStation or Bungie's fault? No, I would say that's to keep things fair, I would say that's absolutely PlayStation's fault, because when we went over Concord, the big thing I said is that, like, I have to blame Sony more than anybody for Concord, because they were the ones who made the conscientious choice to say, this is so good. We want to buy the studio and we want to turn this into the next big thing. When the reality is, from the onset, they should have known that we shouldn't be involved with this at all, let alone buy the studio. You know what I mean? So if Marathon flops aggressively, I'm also going to blame Sony for that, just because it's like, how could you not see that this was unlikely to be the next big thing? But at the same time, the one caveat I will be able to say is, you could kind of understand why Sony would place a big bet on Bungie, because it's like, hey, they're Bungie, right? But it's like, well, every studio is a great studio until they're not, Every studio not every studio, but every good studio puts out good games until they don't, right? So it's just tough, because it's like, we know that the inner workings are much more complex than that. We know that the decisions that are made, it's many different people making many different decisions, but hey man, there's a reason why people who are at the top, in leadership roles, there's a reason why they get paid as much as they do. It's because when the shit goes good, they'll get the credit. When the shit goes bad, they gotta take that blame. But I always just try to be aware that it's usually a bit more complex than that behind the scenes, ultimately. Is there a time frame where an acquired studio becomes a fully first party a la Naughty Dog? Mm, I mean, technically no, but I think the way it's kind of seen sometimes is like the longer a studio is with a new publisher, there you can assume that the first game they put out since the time of acquisition, the publisher probably had minimal hand in, right? It's the next game after that where the publisher is more directly involved and hands on. You would assume anyway that might be a little bit more indicative of like, okay, so this is what the studio is now going to be like under this new publisher. But it's not always like that. It's different. It's different. It's different for each studio, for each property. And I mean, ultimately, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten way off track with the conversation I was trying to have, which is my fault. I'm just kind of rambling. But ultimately, I think what this boils down to, getting back to the conversation that initiated this in the first place, is both Sony and Microsoft at this point are in cahoots, bro. And they're shaking hands behind the scene and making a ton of money. Making a ton of money. And I just think the timing of everything that's going on is so fascinating. Where, like I said, I listed like 5 Microsoft first party games that are launching on PlayStation within a month of one another. Sony puts out the Days Gone remaster, which I'm going to be honest, I hardly see anybody talking about, which makes me kind of sad. Because, you know, I'm playing it right now, and I gotta admit, I'm really enjoying Days Gone Remastered. I can't lie. I'm happy to be playing this game again. But hardly anybody's talking about it. Right now, Microsoft is completely, utterly dominating the conversation. And even when Sony comes out with something relating to Ghost of Yotei, it's not that it doesn't make a little splash, but it's just they decide to just do it randomly, and so it's like now people are already talking about the next thing. Yo, Dan, Days Gone does not suck. Days Gone is a damn good game. Captain Hook, that's fair. Yeah, that's I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to play that and new games, and I'm like, I can't. There's too much. They're promoting / revealing Doom news on the PS5 channels instead of their own. It's the Trojan horse, bro. Only on PS5 do you get to play both GT7 and Forza. That is true. That is true. MBG, a third-party publisher dominating this conversation on PlayStation isn't anything new. That's all Microsoft is now. I mean, that's true. That's true. It's not that uncommon. I guess it just feels different this time though because it is Microsoft, right? It's not every day you see an arch nemesis suddenly become like, whoa, okay, now they're like our biggest partner. You figure out how good Days Gone is. You unlock the lower portion of the map, and I'm just in awe. Yeah, and I gotta say I've been spending more time with it, and listen, man, I understand people are like, this game didn't need to be remastered, but I actually see a pretty decent visual difference, at least in the lighting and some of the texture work. I'm like, look, I don't know how this game looked on PC, but this looks damn good running on my Pro. Like, I genuinely have like a newfound appreciation for the visuals of this game. But, it's, again, still the same game, but that's why I'm enjoying it so much. MBG, your title of the podcast is misleading and ignorant. Sony PlayStation is selling Microsoft games the best because that's the only place Game Pass is not allowed. So PlayStation must purchase. Well, I mean, I guess. Look, at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, the only thing, I mean, yeah, it's not misleading because the title is a fact. How the title makes you feel, that's not my, I mean, no offense, it's not my problem. Like, that's, it's neither here nor there. The main thing that people need to focus on is the point of this report, the point of this information, the point of this data. What does it mean? Well, the answer to that question is it means Microsoft is getting a good payday on PlayStation. And if you listen, I don't know how many people were thinking, boss, I don't know how many people were thinking that Microsoft may still not go all in. But if anybody was still kind of holding out hope that they wouldn't, data like this confirms that Microsoft, see, this is why I'm so interested in the Xbox showcase this year, because this data tells you everything you need to know, where they're going to start making the majority of their money on PlayStation when it comes to their publishing division. What does that mean for the showcase this year? And you're going to start to see, I think, many, many, many more months kind of like this over the coming years, where you're going to see scattershot Microsoft games, just like one this week, one 2 weeks from now. And Microsoft's going to be making that bank, dude. And again, I just wonder, in the grand scheme of things, what this means for PlayStation. What does this mean for PlayStation? Might mean nothing. Just might mean, hey, PlayStation gets more money and they'll just keep doing things the way they're doing it, which would be fine. Dark Horse, a member for 10 months, says the data is skewed. Well, why is it skewed? Tell me why it's skewed, though. I don't think it is. Microsoft will be making more bank too when they raise the price of Game Pass later this year. I mean, a rise in Game Pass and the pricing of Game Pass probably will happen at some point, but I don't know exactly. I don't know if I'm convinced it'll happen this year, but eventually it will. You think PlayStation's subsidizing Game Pass? To me, that's the funniest notion, dude. I mean, there is some truth to that, right? There is some level of truth to, like, PlayStation is subsidizing the cost of Game Pass. But again, man, if PlayStation's making money in that process, then do they care? I don't think so. This means that Sony doesn't have to match the Xbox output at all. They can just put one or two big AAA games out a year and be fine with it. Well, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing this year, dude. They got like basically two, if we're not counting Marathon, but I mean, we should count Marathon, but in terms of like single player games, I mean, we got two big ones this year. You'd be more accurate saying Windows is funding Game Pass and Xbox is funding PlayStation exclusives. So they're all funding each other. They're all subsidizing one another. Oh, I gotta let Luna out. Is there any word on how many people have played Expedition 33 via Game Pass? No, they announced that they sold 1 million copies, though. Like, sold. Not players, but sold. Which, awesome, dude. Like, really happy to see the success of this developer. I mean, I would assume a decent amount of people probably played it through Game Pass. But the craziest thing about Clair Obscura Expedition 33, the craziest thing is if you go on Metacritic right now, it's sitting at a 9.7 user rating based off of almost 2,400 reviews. That is mind-boggling, dude. That's mind-boggling. The craziest thing is the title. It is a crazy title for a game. Yeah. Turn-based is so back. It must be. When I'm over, dude, I can't stop. I'm still playing. I'm still playing Expedition 33. I'm trying to play Days Gone, but I keep going back to Expedition 33 because I'm like addicted to this game. And I would like to get the platinum for it. 1 million sales is just okay. Well, you have to understand that this game was made by a team of 30 people, and it's their first It's their first game that they ever released from the studio. So, I mean, I think they were probably. I don't know what their sales expectations were, but I don't think it was 1 million. Could be wrong. What's so addicting for Expedition 33 looks so boring to me. It's the linear progression for me. It's like just getting stronger and more powerful. Like I remember when I felt like, man, I'm really doing some damage when I do this attack that gets like 2,000. It does 2,000 damage points or hit points, right? And I'm like, man, that's huge. I'm at a point now where I'm doing attacks that do sometimes over 600,000 points of damage. And I'm like, I don't know. It just hits that dopamine in my brain, bro, where I'm like, yup. It just feels great. Yeah, I don't know. They did something right, man. I don't even play turn-based games, and I'm addicted to this game. So they did something very right. I've gotten a lot better at parrying, by the way. And man, I'm not saying you're playing the game wrong if you're not parrying. You're definitely not. You need to just get used to the attack patterns. You need to be able to just get used to dodging. But I highly suggest if you're playing Expedition 33, try to get better at parrying, because the quicker you do that, like once you start getting to a point where you can just parry every attack, you just do a counterattack. And especially when you get much stronger, those counterattacks will fuck enemies up, dude. You're just doing damage on top of damage. It's just so good. So good. Game is so good, man. Is it Game Pass fodder? No. Dude, I'm going to be honest, I worry that the devs like undersold themselves. I mean, I don't know how much Microsoft paid to get this in the Game Pass, but this is, I'm not kidding, like this is Game of the Year material. Yeah. I'm not even trying to like sell people on the game. I'm just saying it's very, very, very good. Very good game. You're on your way to the PlayStation concert? You have to let me know how it is, Trouble Champ. Lux, you're saying, I think Microsoft will try at some point to change the split and rock the boat 80-20% instead of 70-30. All publishers would agree with them on that. Ooh. Now that's where I think Sony. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the position that Sony would be in, right? Where it's like, if you're the de facto platform outside of Valve, you know. But I don't know, because I don't know. I don't know what Sony would do at that point. I don't know what they would do. I'm assuming they would say hell no, but the alternative is if Microsoft says no, this is what we want. I mean, that's like a, you know, I will. Here's what I'll say. Oh no, they can't do that because of Call of Duty. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I guess it depends on if Microsoft wants to rock the boat. I feel like right now Microsoft is probably just focused on seeing what they can get as is and seeing how that looks, you know? Silent Spartan, you're saying, did you get a Switch 2 pre-order for Mrs. MEG? No, she wants to wait on it as well. She's excited about the Switch 2, but she wants to wait until she sees more games specifically that she would want the Switch 2 for. The games that were announced by Nintendo first party right now are not games that necessarily she's stoked for. So we're gonna give it a little bit of time. Man, I'm glad though, because it seems like trying to pre-order the Switch 2 is kind of a nightmare. GLP Gamer, a member for 6 months, says PlayStation will subsidize Game Pass until it becomes self-sufficient. Then I imagine everything will be exclusive to Game Pass that Microsoft own. PlayStation need to do something big. Um, no, I don't. I don't agree with that because the idea of Microsoft one day just getting up and being like, actually, never mind, we're gonna go back to exclusivity. The amount of money that they're gonna lose, even if Game Pass is massive, because you have to understand that like the idea is that Game Pass eventually gets to 100 million subs and is like self-sustaining, right? If that happens, that doesn't mean games aren't selling on PlayStation as well. You have to just kind of view it in terms of in investor meetings, right? Like the moment Microsoft, no matter how well Game Pass is doing, decides to say we're taking these games off of this platform, massive drop in money, massive dip. Microsoft's going to have to try to justify that to shareholders, and it's not going to work. Because you have to understand that what you're saying is that Game Pass can reach that level of success while simultaneously being everywhere. Like, I mean, their games being everywhere. So if they could have both, why not have both? You see what I'm saying? Like, Microsoft isn't going to just one day try to strong arm people because they won't need to. That's the point. And that's kind of what Sony is trying to build up towards, I think, as well, just much slower. But the whole idea is like we don't need to force you to come to us because we're everywhere already. Whether you want to come to us through Game Pass, whether you want to buy games full price, whether you want to, subscribe to Game Pass and play it through cloud on your TV, doesn't matter. You're still coming on. Like you're still here. By us coming to you, we got you too. You got us, but we got you. I just, I don't see Microsoft ever walking that back without some. I mean, that would be they would lose so much money so quickly. Lux, you're saying they chose to put it on Game Pass. LOL, didn't get forced. Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the devs may have really. I think they were nervous. I think their first time developer, their new studio, there are only 30 people. They developed this game, I think, for 5 years, and they were probably scared. Like, if this game might flop. I mean, let's face it, dude. A lot of games come out and they just flop. A lot of new games. There are also a lot of new games that come out that do amazing. It's basically a coin flip. And considering it's a turn-based RPG, they were probably feeling nervous. Like, let's get whatever bag we can right now. Let's just get whatever bag we can right now, and hope for the best. And I think that it's obvious that they would have been fine without it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like Microsoft is still willing to make some deals with games and developers who might want to get some level of upfront security. All right. Let's see here. We got Alvin with a super chat. He says Sony usually has a state of play in late May before Summer Game Fest. Will that be the Borderlands one with ghosts with the Ghost one maybe in August/September. I'm going to be honest, Alvin, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what to say anymore when it comes to Sony stated plays or showcases. And the reason for this is because Sony just did something they literally have never done before, ever. We do know a Borderlands one's coming. We do know that. But outside of that, it just I have no idea what their plans are. Sony just decided, you know what? Here's a Ghost of Yotei trailer and release date in a blog post. They've never done that. As far as I'm aware, they've never done that for a AAA first-party game. If that means something deeper, like this is our way of letting you know, wink, wink, we're not doing a showcase, I don't know. I don't know. There's only two things I do know. Three things. Here are the three things I know, and you can come up with whatever you want. Number one, like I said, Sony did something they've never done before with a first-party game by just shadow dropping a release date and a new story trailer. Number two, they are going to have a Borderlands 4 focused state of play before the end of spring. And number three, new leadership went into effect on April 1st. New Sony CEO, new PlayStation CEO. So those are the only three things I know. Outside of that, totally up in the air. I'd love to get a showcase. I'd love to get a big Ghost of Yotei state of play, but I have absolutely no idea what Sony is planning on doing. Sorry if that's a bit disappointing, Alvin, but I'm just trying to be honest, you know. I don't want to sit here and, you know, I've literally had multiple years where I'm like, Sony's definitely going to do a showcase this year just for them not to. Sony's definitely going to do this. And I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm not excited for I am very excited for Ghost of Yotei, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, I watched the trailer. We watched it together, you know. We know the release date. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to wait and see what they want to do. I'll add to that, I'm not excited for the Borderlands 4 state of play. It's no offense to Borderlands 4. I'm not excited for it. Like, I might still stream it and, you know, react to it or whatever, but you know, that's not the type of hype and excitement that I had in mind when I talk about Sony doing shows, right? Meanwhile, the platform that's quote unquote dead doing a show, well, the platform is basically dead, man. Like the Xbox console and the platform on that console is close to being dead. But Xbox as a brand is far from dead, dude. I've said that. Listen, I know that there are people that go around saying Xbox is dead. Xbox is not dead. They're not. But they're definitely not. When we say Xbox now, like, people don't think of them the same way that they used to. I don't think people even think of the console anymore. I think when people think about Xbox, they think about, they probably think either about Game Pass or about, I mean, when I think about them on PlayStation now, that's what I think. So things have definitely changed. Think about games. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. They own so many publishers. It's like, yeah, I mean, to an extent, you got to be thinking about games, right? Uh, Sony was probably trying to get Ghost of Yotei release date and pre-orders out before GTA 6 announcement next month. Yeah, I mean that I let me talk about that for a moment because you know you might be right. You might be right. what would cause Sony to do something kind of strange that they've never done before with a first party game? The idea of GTA 6 info looming and marketing coming. I mean, yeah, I could see that. If, like, let me put it this way, if Sony is aware that GTA 6 marketing begins next month, then they're like, okay, yeah, let's just get this out there now. But that's speculation. There's no way for us to know that or to be able to prove that. You never thought Sony would drop a release date like that? Yeah, me either. Me either, honestly. Very strange, very unusual. So it's one of two things, right? It's either a one-time thing because of GTA 6, or it's the new standard. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. PlayStation Pete with a $5 chat says, went in my cupboard late at night. Thought I was eating almonds, turned out to be cat food. Pete, I think you're going to turn into a cat now, man. PlayStation Pete, I'm going to need to follow up on this one, bro. How long did it take you to realize that? See, I can't tell if this is like, did it take like a couple seconds, or was it like I was 5 minutes into eating these things and then I realized, wait a second, these don't taste like almonds at all. He's lying. Did you at least hit the 25 member goal, Pete? That's funny, man. Why is my almond so mealy? 4 handfuls in. PlayStation Pete, did you secretly discover last night that you like cat food? Let's check out Tornado trailer. It's like Ghost of Yotei movie. That's funny, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share that with me, PlayStation Pete. I don't know what I would have done without. Oh my god, dude! All right, boss, you're pissed. That's it. You pissed me off. Now I'm mad. Now I'm mad. No, 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 no. Now I'm mad. I'm shunning you. Bro just scratched my arm. Go. Go. Bad cat. He tries to make jumps he knows he can't make. You just like tore my arm up, man. Turning in the Cujo. All right. Mind's Eye gameplay. Hold on. Where is it? Okay, it popped up for a moment and then it disappeared. They were showing off some gameplay for Mind's Eye. Let's see if I can. Oh, whatever. I can't find it now. He got mad because somebody was eating his cat food. Now my arm itches. Damn crazy cat. It looks like it needs more time in the oven. Bro, what don't you get? He doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. He doesn't give a shit. He just slowly walks over. He's like, I don't give a shit what you have to say, bro. Where are my treats? He said he's going for the neck next. Did you guys ever see that video of that dude who opened his PS4 on Christmas morning and his cat just violently attacked his neck? Hold on. All right, now I got to bring this up. We have to watch it together. PlayStation Pete, see what you did? If you haven't seen this video clip, now you think you're going to get birds? Bro, get down. He's testing me. That's what stops me from getting a cat. I got to show you this video. Lux, you're saying Mind's Eye looks like it's from the PS3 era, looks dated. Are you saying that based on the gameplay? Did you see the gameplay? Because I didn't see the gameplay yet. I just saw it pop up for like a split second. I think this is the video. Hold on. I'm not actually sure if this is the one or not, but I'll bring it up. I have too many things open here. That's what. All right, let's see. This is going to be boss. Bro, stop it. Oh my God, dude. Holy shit. Safe to say that cat was an Xbox fan, yeah. He was screeching and scared his cat. Bro, his cat was like, you gotta be put down, son. He really did scare the shit out of his cat. He scared his cat so bad his cat felt like he was threatened and had to take him down. That's crazy, man. Oh my God, dude, the way he took him down. It almost looks like that would be fake, too. But he showed the, Oh, wait. I accidentally just clicked on the snark tank. Isn't that Chris Raygun? This isn't supposed to be up. Oh, let me go see if I can find that Mind's Eye gameplay, though. Let's see if it's on YouTube. Hold on.
In his
I don't see it. I don't think it's on YouTube yet.
In his research.
I'm looking for it. Can't find it. See if it was uploaded today. Okay, wait, hold on. I think I found it.
Is that gunfire I'm hearing?
Well, it ain't popcorn. You think I blew up Little John's trailer? Some of those red sand mercs are here, too. They must be responsible. marks are leaving. I'm going after him. Any luck on the coordinates for that other hacker?
We're still working on it. Pro, find me that location. Now!
My time in the service, it's still a blur. Just trying to get some answers.
Well, what do we think? I mean, that was really short. Looks like a PS Plus game. Goddamn. I think it looked pretty okay. I mean, it doesn't look. I feel like it looks. It's got like this kind of, yeah, PS3, Xbox 360 kind of cheesiness going on there, but I think it actually looks pretty good. Looks like Game Pass fodder. Damn, bro, that's rough. I mean, I liked it. I'd like to see more. People being brutal on this game. All games don't have to take themselves too seriously. Yeah, I like the vibe. I feel like we don't really get games like this anymore. If it turns out to be a train wreck, then whatever. Game looks really bad. All right. I mean, my favorite line, though, was like, is that gunfire? Well, it ain't popcorn. 10 out of 10 writing. S tier writing, bro. Saying ponies will buy anything? That's not true. Who you calling a pony? All right, that's it. Hold on. Now boss is in trouble. I'm kicking boss out. Yo, if Corey shows up, I'll bring him back in, but I gotta kick boss out. He's actually being like really bad. Hold on. Sorry about that. He wouldn't listen to me either. He wouldn't even get out. He must have tried biting my PlayStation like 5 times. That's something like, okay, you gotta go, dude. You gotta go. Sorry about that. Lux, you're saying if it was a Game Pass game, we'd be slaughtering it. I mean, some people would be, yeah. Some people. It looks okay. I got to see more. It looks all right. No, it's not. It's not poor cat. He does this thing where he tries to torture me now. All right, now where were we here? Oh yeah, Mind's Eye gameplay. Mind's Eye. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that was like pretty short. They only showed about like 20, 30 seconds. You're calling the authorities. Yeah, call the authorities on boss. Cat torturing a man. Apparently it's a teaser for the full trailer. Okay. All right. Anyone see that game, God Save Birmingham? I have not seen that. Why is my... I'm sorry. I'm just getting very distracted. Like, my PC sounds like it's going to blow up. Did boss do something? Why does it sound like that? Why is my CPU usage at like almost 90%? What the fuck? I think it's YouTube Studio, dude. Because like I just checked, it was at 90%, and then my YouTube Studio just crashed. Now CPU's down to usage 13%. All right, hold on. Let me reload it and see what happens. It's still pretty low. So I refreshed the page. YouTube Studio's back up. CPU usage 15%. That's really weird. Something happens with the YouTube Studio every stream where it causes a massive CPU spike and then it crashes. I wonder what it could be. Huh. Well, whatever. Quick, tell Mark Cerny. Can you hear a countdown? I mean, no, but there may as well be one. There may as well be like a countdown letting me know when I got to refresh it. Bitrate, you think? Maybe worth reinstalling later. Bad coders at YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. It's been like this for a long time now, though. Yeah, I have no idea what causes it. What's weird is that like I think I could leave this page and just still be live. Like I could exit out of all this. Cat will diffuse it. You're hoping AI will fix the code bases. Scarlett says, MBG, have you played the Marathon Alpha test yet? I'm hearing good things online. People are saying it's the next Concord. I hope not. I don't want anything bad to happen to Bungie. I haven't played it yet, no. I'm going to save playing it for when the beta comes out. I'm not that interested in the alpha. I'm like completely in the middle with Marathon. Like, I'm willing to try it, but I don't see myself being won over. It would have to be really, really good for me to be like, okay, you know what though? This is my new game now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know that I'm convinced Marathon's going to be the next Concord, but I think the big problem is that there's really, really high expectations on Bungie. So if they can't deliver a really, really strong performing game that has legs, right? I don't know what's going to happen to them. I mean, we can't forget how much money Sony paid for Bungie. And the biggest reason why Sony bought Bungie was for their institutional knowledge on live service games. And Sony found out within a couple years of buying them that, okay, they actually can't teach us anything. They were actually in dire straits, and we basically saved them. So, in other words, their purchase was completely pointless. I mean, you know, Marathon's pretty much what it's all been building up to, and I don't want to like be that person that's like it's over before it even starts, but I did say after the Marathon reveal that I believe Bungie has a pretty significant uphill battle. I do. I believe they have a pretty significant uphill battle. I don't think it'll be immediately DOA. I don't think it's going to be a Concord, but I do think that if the Twitch viewership, what you guys told me is the day the alpha dropped, they had like 175,000 people watching, and then in the next few days it dropped down to like 5 or 6,000 people total. If that's indicative of what we can expect for this game, I don't think that's going to be good enough. and I think Bungie might be in trouble. But we don't know yet. We don't know. We won't know until it happens. So I'm just in the middle on it. We'll see. They're literally restricting codes while people beg for them. I wonder why they're restricting them, though. Bomb G, Bomb Cord, Maribomb, Destimid. Oh my god. I've seen a couple people show up on my stream that have played it, but I haven't seen anybody come in being like, this game's amazing. To be honest, I don't think I've seen anybody saying that this game's amazing. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've come across anybody who played the Marathon Alpha being like, this game's amazing. I can't wait to play more. Now, maybe those people are out there. Maybe they're busy playing it, and that's why I'm not seeing them talk about it. But yeah, I haven't really seen it. Shroud said something about aim assist. Yeah, I did read that in an article. He was saying that he's frustrated that they're doing mandatory aim assist on PC to kind of bring it to like balance out PC and console. And I'm like, see, this isn't good, man. Like Bungie, you need these like big streamers to be saying good things about your game. It's an alpha. It'll change. You think it's 50-50 on Marathon from what I've seen on the interwebs? Yeah, I don't think I mean, if I had to give like a percentage, like a ratio on, you know, dividing it into positive and negative, I think it's 65% negative, 35% positive. That's my kind of estimate in terms of if I were to show you a pie chart of the overall feeling of the general gaming populace, I think it's 65% negative on Marathon, 35% positive. Doesn't mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the game's going to fail. It's just I think that there's not nearly as much positivity compared to negativity. Is the Until Dawn movie a dud too? I don't know. I did give my review of that movie at the beginning of the stream. Gaming population. The gaming populace. By the way, guys, I see we're creeping up on the 2-hour mark. So we'll do like a last call here if you want to drop any more fan funding, whether that be membership gifts, if you want to become a member, super chat, anything along those lines. Now would be the time to do it. We're going to keep today's stream relatively short. There's not a whole lot to talk about. You saw the Until Dawn movie with your sister this Saturday. You enjoyed it? Yeah, I thought it was good. I saw it with my wife. We really enjoyed it. The Xbox showcase is, I think, June 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Alvin, a member for 12 months, says, been a Bungie fan since Oni, pre-Halo, and I will say they've never given up on a project. They'll listen, adapt, and make changes, but won't sink it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people putting a lot of faith in Bungie, and that's why I'm just kind of like, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't want to count them out. I do remember with the last expansion that came out for Destiny 2, there was so much negativity surrounding it. People were betting. I mean, people were absolutely betting on them failing. And they came out and they killed it. They did an amazing job. So it's like, I was quite shocked by that. I'm like, oh, I didn't, okay. With the way people were talking, I would have thought this was going to be the biggest dumpster fire of all time. There are several streamers with thousands of views who are really liking Marathon. There will be a hardcore fan base. Yeah, that was my original prediction. Even though I did say I think they will have an uphill battle. I think they will have like a hardcore kind of following, like that is just going to be there to help at the very least maintain the game and continue to give it some life. A catnip in your office chair, 2 cups of good hot black coffee. Wait, Hanzo, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. How much did Marathon cost to make? I don't know. All I know is Sony's paid $3.6 billion for it. Does anybody still play the first Helldivers? I don't think so. No, I don't think people are playing that. That'd be kind of funny, though. Yeah, for Sony, Marathon technically costs $3.6 billion. Damn, Titus. I don't think Sony's obviously not trying to make their money back, but they're just trying to make sure Marathon can be somewhat successful. They can find some kind of audience. Oh, this is rare. I kicked boss out. Luna's like, this is my spot now. We got a new cat. Luna makes me nervous too. She likes to scratch a little bit. Someone's gonna get fired for that. Yeah, Jim Ryan. Well, I don't know. He retired, right? I think he knew. He's like, uh-oh. Relax. I'm just. Oh my god, she's such a. She doesn't. Luna doesn't f around, dude. I try not to mess with her. She will scratch, and her claws hurt. Oh my god. She got some big ass paws. Used to have a cat called Mr. Kitty. Very clever name. Titus, a little bit later on, when they announce more games. When they announce more games, we will. Really, you think so? Eternal? That's surprising. That's a crazy name, Hanzo. That's a wild name. All right, guys. I think this will be a good place to wrap up today's stream. Not the longest stream, keeping it on the shorter side because I really didn't have a whole lot to talk about. That's why I ended up changing the title and the thumbnail because I'm like, there's really not an influx of topics, and I didn't want to like end up. We did repeat a lot of the stuff we already talked about, but this will be a good place to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for joining me today, for tuning into the stream. Also want to extend a thank you to anybody who dropped any direct support. Fred dropped some membership gifts. Anybody who dropped any super chats, really appreciate that. I can only do what I do here because you guys make it possible. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. So if you guys see him in the comments, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he appreciates it. And yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I got to go see what the hell Boss is doing because he is like tearing up my door or something. I'm going to have to figure out what to do with that cat, man, because he's getting out of hand. But all right, guys, please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I did put a news video out earlier. You can go check that out. And I will catch you guys in the next one. So till then, take care, everyone.